Have you ever stopped in the middle of your day, looked in the mirror, and asked, "Who am I, really?" Not what you do or where you live or what roles you play, but beneath all of that, who is the I experiencing it all? This question has haunted philosophers, spiritual seekers, and scientists alike for thousands of years. Some say we're the sum of our memories, others claim we're just a byproduct of neurons firing, and still others suggest we're divine beings temporarily housed in human form. So let's unpack this in a way that's simple, intuitive, and emotionally resonant. Let's start from the inside, your psychological self. In psychodynamic theory, your identity is shaped like layers of an onion, with your conscious self at the surface and your unconscious drives buried deep underneath. Freud believed we're driven by buried desires and unresolved conflicts, often from childhood. Think of the kid who never felt seen by his parents. He grows up to chase attention, applause, and external validation, but never truly feels whole. That kid may become a perfectionist or a people pleaser, not knowing it's his wounded inner child running the show. Then there's the object relations theory, which says your sense of self is formed through the objects, or people you attach to in early life, usually your caregivers. If you were held, heard, and mirrored, you internalize a sense of worth. But if you were ignored, criticized, or emotionally neglected, you might carry an internalized bad object and forever feel not good enough. You look for lovers, friends, even bosses to heal that original wound, often repeating the same painful dynamic. In interpersonal psychology, your identity isn't something you have, it's something that emerges in relationships. Who you are around your mother may be completely different from who you are with your best friend, and that's not fake, it's relational. This makes sense because humans evolved to adapt to the social environment. So instead of a fixed identity, maybe you're more like a social chameleon, fluid but authentic in each context. Now add the trauma lens, which says that your sense of self may not have grown naturally, it may have fragmented. When bad things happen and there's no one to help you make sense of it, you may split your identity to survive. You might become the achiever, the caretaker, the rebel, not because that's who you truly are, but because that role helped you feel safe. Trauma creates identities that are functional, not foundational. And over time, we confuse our defenses for our personalities. Even ADHD, anxiety, or mood swings may be symptoms of this deeper fragmentation. On a biological level, your brain literally wires itself based on early attachment and experience. This is epigenetics in action. The environment turns certain genes on or off, and those effects can be passed down generationally. For example, children of Holocaust survivors show altered cortisol patterns, even if they never experienced war. So your identity may carry echoes of ancestral wounds, not just personal ones. That brings us to a startling realization. Much of who you are is inherited, shaped, or adapted, not chosen. But if identity is so malleable, is there anything solid underneath? Here's where psychology meets spirituality. In Eastern philosophies like Vedanta, the question, "Who am I?" isn't answered with personality traits, but with silence. The teaching says you are not your body, not your mind, not even your thoughts. You are pure awareness, the witness behind all experiences. Imagine watching a movie. You're not the character, not the plot, not the screen. You are the observer. In Vedanta, that observer is called Atman, the unchanging self. It's like a still lake beneath the waves of emotion, memory, and desire. Even if the waves are chaotic, the lake itself remains undisturbed. Similarly, Buddhism offers the idea of no self, or anatta, that the self is just a collection of changing processes, thoughts, sensations, cravings. There's no permanent I you can cling to, and oddly that's liberating, because if there's no fixed self, you can stop clinging to ego and start flowing with life. In modern neuroscience, this aligns with findings that the self is more of a brain-generated illusion. There's no one spot in the brain where you reside. Identity is an emergent property, like the flame of a candle made up of wax, wick, and fire. Change one part, and the flame flickers differently. So now we're seeing multiple models. Psychology says your identity is formed by relationships and trauma. Spirituality says it's an illusion or a pure observer. Neuroscience says it's emergent and dynamic. But they all agree on one thing. Who you think you are is not fixed. That's both scary and empowering. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine Sarah, a successful lawyer in her 30s. Everyone thinks she has it together. But inside, she feels like an imposter. She's constantly anxious, driven to succeed, terrified of failure. In therapy, she uncovers that as a child, love was conditional. She had to achieve to be praised. So she became the smart one. Over time, that role became her identity. But it's not who she really is. It's who she had to be. Then, during a meditation retreat, she experiences something new. A moment of stillness, where her mind is quiet. She's not anxious, not performing, just being. She realizes, if I can observe my thoughts, maybe I'm not my thoughts. That glimpse of awareness becomes a turning point. She's no longer fused with her identity. She can hold it lightly. Another story, Jamal, a middle-aged man who grew up in a violent neighborhood. He joined a gang to survive. That identity protected him. Later, in prison, he joined a restorative justice circle. For the first time, someone asked, "What happened to you?" Not, "What's wrong with you?" As he told his story, he cried for the first time in years. He realized he had never been allowed to be vulnerable. His toughness was armor, not essence. Through mentorship, he learned to speak, write poetry, and lead workshops. He still has his past, but now it's integrated, not denied. He says, "I'm not what I did. I'm who I choose to become." These examples show that identity is not just discovered, it's healed, built, rewritten. It's both nature and nurture, both structure and soul. But what if we go even deeper? What if the biggest misunderstanding is that we have to find ourselves, when maybe the self is not lost, just buried? The Qualia perspective from philosophy of mind says that our inner experience, how it feels to be us, is irreducible. You can describe the brain's activity, but not the taste of chocolate or the ache of heartbreak. So your consciousness, your lived experience, is unique and sacred. That's why two people can go through the same event and come out with completely different meanings. Yourself is not just the story you tell, it's how you feel the story. That feeling, call it soul, presence, awareness, is the common thread behind all your roles. So who are you? You're the daughter, the employee, the dreamer, the wounded child, the silent witness, the one watching thoughts float by, the one feeling the weight of the world yet still moving forward. You're both the mask and the one behind the mask, and perhaps you're not meant to fully answer the question, but to live it. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke said, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves." So maybe the journey is not about pinning down who you are, but expanding who you allow yourself to be. A tapestry of inner child and ancient soul, broken heart and brave face, trauma and transcendence. When we integrate all these layers, the psychology, the spirituality, the biology, the stories, we see that a human being is not a fixed label or diagnosis, not a resume or a role. We are evolving mysteries, and maybe the most honest answer to "Who am I?" is simply becoming.